Hello. Can anyone hear me? Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so does anyone have any question, any concern, any feedback, anything they want to talk about today that you have been like a blocker that you have been facing, or just something that you're confused with, but you just could not mention it basically. You probably thought that you could, learn about it later, but right later you figured out that you could not learn about it. So you probably want to ask. Just let me know. The floor is open for your questions. I'm waiting on. Please, can you speak out? I can't read the messages that are there. Please, if you have a questions, I'll mute your mic and say it. Okay. So that everybody is quiet. Me. Okay, so one thing I wanted to also highlight on is the first thing is I mentioned it some time ago, but I'll still mention it again here. Is copying assignments. So I know that we are learning and we're also trying to, improve our learning scopes, but I'm not really a fan of, shoplifting assignments word for word. Yeah. So when you're giving assignments, you take out time to actually do your research, do your research and do it in your unique environment. So even if you don't have the setup, you can collaborate with someone that can probably give you screenshots with your own unique environment. For example, if my folder is you say Ezekiel, and I want to create a folder for Peter, I create the folder for Peter and then still run the setups for Peter. You get, but not the one that every damn thing that is on person A assignment will be on person B assignment. It doesn't sit well with people that are training. You get, because I go through all the assignments, I go through everything one by one by one by one. I read everything. And it alarms me when I see situations where I can legit compare these two assignments, sometimes three assignments, word for word. The only difference is the GitHub username that's different. It doesn't make sense. Most people now think they are smart. They copy the screenshots, but now change the README files, like the write up on the README to something different. But I'll still look at the screenshots and I'll still see these things. So I'm just urging you, if there are situations where you don't understand this P, reach out. Even if you cannot reach out to me, there are guys that are good on the group. There are guys that are experts in their own way that are commenting these guys. They could help you. You know, I don't want to see a situation where we are copying. Doesn't sit right, to be honest. And the second thing I notice is for those that are submitting these, for those that are submitting this assignment, um, one rule you need to understand, and this goes for those who have not done the current task, and for those that have done the current task, you can still change it or you can leave it. But I just want to sound as a bit of technical advice. Number one, don't upload EMV files on GitHub. It does not, it is not it is not secure. So as a DevOps engineer, one thing you need to know is that no matter what you're building, in this game, security must be the first thing to come to your mind. No matter how small, no matter how small that act, that particular thing you're trying to build is, always build with security in mind. It should be like something that is at the back of your forehead as a builder, whether you're writing pipelines or you're writing automation scripts, or you're writing Ansible configurations, or you're writing shell scripts, you're writing Python scripts, or you're writing Docker containers, or you're deploying applications to Kubernetes. Whatever you're doing, always ensure that security is at the back of your head. And I know that yes, okay, most people are new to this whole piece, so they may most likely not know, but we need to adopt a very, very secure approach when we are deploying stuff. And the first thing at this level is never put env files in your GitHub. But any file that contains sensitive information should not be uploaded. Files that have your for a Postgres password or your database details or something should not be uploaded to GitHub. You understand? Because hackers can easily trace these things. Hackers can, in cybersecurity, that's what they call brute force attack. Hackers can launch brute force attacks on your database and drop everything. You will see that in a production environment, your database just goes down because you have probably exposed the sensitive detail, especially if it's a public repo. You get whether it's a public or a private repo, env file should never be exposed. That being said, another thing that should also not be exposed is package management configurations. So these are tips that I'm trying to like give you tips moving forward. Like we are at like a halftime. Where we are now is halftime. Those that 15 minutes break where the players go in and the coach tells them how they have done so far. So that's where we are now. You get next week we'll go deep dive into CI/CD, which is the second half of the whole training. We have done the first half, which is let's recap. The recap is introduction to DevOps, the whole DevOps culture, everything related to DevOps. Then we move to Linux, which is like, the fundamental, the grassroots, everything that we have done as a DevOps engineer. It is the foundation of everything you're going to do in your entire career as DevOps engineer. Linux. You are not going to escape it, no matter how. Because 90% of the infrastructure you're going to work in is powered with Linux. So if you don't understand the underlying technology behind Linux, you will struggle. You will struggle a lot. That's why you will see a lot of people, they can't even write a simple shell script because they don't even understand what a make direction is. So there's a time I had a gig. There's a time I had a gig in a very short gig. It's supposed to be like an interview gig. So most people they oh okay, sorry. So most can you please confirm you can hear me now? Okay, so most people, especially those in diaspora, they have because there are a lot of opportunities abroad. So most people just learn this thing. So a lot of boot camps exploit people that want to learn cloud or people that want to learn tech because of they are in a situation where they are Americans and they are Americans and okay, so they are Americans and um they want to really go into tech or something like that. So they exploit them. That's why you see a training that is like $5,000, you know, and they don't teach them anything because they just go straight into the cloud environment. Oh, you must learn. You start just learning that. It doesn't make sense. So I had an interview gig and I had to sit. This guy had an interview. They gave him the task he needed to do, so he paid me. And I have to sit this guy down. And I was going through fundamental stuff with this guy. So apparently, the task is just related to deploying, just the same thing I did for you, deploying an application to Kubernetes, the same way I did front end, back end, everything. Ensure that the application is deployed on a Kubernetes cluster. And um, you have to do a lot of, initial configurations, just to get the cluster running. So I had a conversation with this guy. We were on call for hours, trying to solve this stuff. And the guy could not even respond. This is probably someone that went through like a boot camp. The guy could not even respond. Simple commands. I was like, okay, CD into this document, you know, make a directory here. The guy was confused. And I was like, what are they teaching you people there? I'm not trying to praise what we do here, but I'm just trying to emphasize the importance of understanding the fundamentals. That's the most important thing. I told this guy to CD. I can never forget this situation. I told this guy to CD into a directory. And that this guy wrote SEE, like SEE space D as CD. So when I was like change directory, so I was like, now based on DevOps to DevOps, CD into this directory. The boss wrote SEE space D, like CD. And he was like, where will I see the D? That whole CDD, like it was like, where will I see the D? I was like, bro, I had to turn off my mic and start laughing. Because it was a very, very crazy experience. I don't know when I felt laughing. I was like, what is this nonsense? So it just goes it just boils down to the fact that we need underlining knowledge to get this thing done. You may be surprised. You may work as a DevOps engineer and your entire task is just to create scripts. They will tell you, okay, they'll give you a whole bunch of files that were manually created and tell you to automate them. Or they can give you like an Excel sheet of 1,000 things in the Excel sheet and tell you to automate the process of uploading these details to our server. So understanding the grassroots is very, very important. You understand? So go back to what we're talking about. We did we did Linux, then we went to shell scripting. So we talked about scripting, the importance of scripting, you know, how to automate stuff using scripts. I gave you a task. Most of you did it brilliantly well. I think that shell task was when I knew a lot of people that were spying a lot of things in this class. And I'm not going to mention their names. That being said, yeah. So after scripting, we went to Python scripting. We wrote Python script. Python scripts are fantastic. But for basic level, like I said, we learn shell. Shell will practically give you anything you want to do in a shell in a scripting environment. But Python is just for extra knowledge, like I said. You understand? Python is just for extra knowledge that I said. But if you know Python, fine, great. I know a lot of you here already have underlining experience in Python, which is fantastic. You can use Python to do what you want. But if you don't know anything concerning scripting, then Shell should be the best option for you. Like an entry level, you can just use it to do whatever you want to do. Then after Shell, we move to Ansible. I'm saying this for the people that joined new, so you know how to follow, when you're trying to recap or something, you know how to follow up. Then we move to Ansible. We talked about configuration management, the importance of configuration management, how you know how processes are automated. So, for example, you may be in a situation where you are meant to automate configuration of 1,000 servers, or even only 1,000, or 50 to 100 servers at the same time. You will not start logging into each of the servers one by one to automate them. You are not crazy to do that kind of work. That is where configuration management comes in. You use one server as a host. That one server now connects to all the different servers, and then you deploy everything at the same time. So that's the underlying experience with this. So when you're writing your CV, you can put, oh, I automated the configurations of cleaning servers, so configurations to ensure that this works. All those setups. You understand? All those setups is what makes everything make sense. Like I said in the beginning of the class, DevOps is all about automation. Everything concerning DevOps is built on the foundation of automation. You're automating everything. That's why people get angry at the workload of a DevOps engineer, because I always attribute DevOps engineer as a civil engineer. You get? That's basically and I want you to understand, that's basically how I attribute DevOps engineer. You don't see a civil engineer, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong though, but don't see a civil engineer working on a road and going to work on a road that is already constructed every day, every day, every day, every day, every day. What they need to do is that initial point is the heaviest, that initial point of setting up the infrastructure. The road infrastructure is the most difficult stage, because you have to consider everything. If, for example, now you're building a bridge, you have to consider the traffic centralization of the area. You have to consider the materials that you're going to use. You have to consider the kind of load that will be passing through the bridge, whether they will consist of only just cars, or there will be trailers, or there will be bicycles, or it's just a pedestrian bridge. You get that kind of thing. You have to consider that. You have to, you do a lot of all those considerations with multiple tests and everything. Then when you now build the bridge solid, the next thing you are going to do is maintenance. Till whatever happens to that bridge happens. Only thing you'll be doing is maintenance. You are most likely not adding anything. You are most likely not removing anything. Only thing you need to do is maintain. Oh, ensure that integrity is good. If, for example, now a situation where you have just 50 users, you're not going to do much. But if you have a situation where your users are climbing to the hundreds or to the thousands, and hey, you now start doing all those optimization to ensure that you can accommodate much users. That's basically what the job of a DevOps engineer does. Initially, when you get the project requirements, you know what you're going to set up, the project infrastructure. Oh, should I use it? You're going to understand cost. You're going to understand uh, you're going to understand cost. Cost is the very, very first of all, I say security initially. Go to consider security. Go to consider cost. Going to consider cost. After considering cost, we're going to consider high availability and redundancy. High availability simply means that anything that happens to this application, it must always be on. Not high availability. That's what your application must be highly available. After high availability, you're going to consider this disaster recovery. These are the four elements. When we go into AWS or cloud infrastructure proper, we'll talk about it. We need to consider what I said: security, cost, high availability, and disaster recovery. These are the four things you consider. When you build the infrastructure finish, you now calm down and then say, okay, what am I going to do? I'm monitoring the traffic. I'm monitoring the setup, monitoring what goes left. Should it go left? If it's going left, can I optimize to accommodate that left is going? Sometimes there can be high peak of users. Probably someone mentions your name on someone mention the name of your company on Instagram, gives you a shout out. That shout out now spike the number of users. So the one thing with a DevOps engineer that can be annoying, to be honest, is you are doing bulk of the work in the first phases. The remaining phase is just monitoring and observability and optimization. That's what you're doing. Because, for example, now you have built the infrastructure, the users are coming in, blah, 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 blah. Next thing you're going to do, that someone can probably mention your app now. Oh, this app is a very, very fantastic app I just discovered. Your users spike up. Once the users spike up now, you have to now adjust the configurations of your infrastructure to ensure that you can accommodate that spike. Because if you cannot accommodate that spike, your server is going down. So you're on guard, but you may most likely not be doing anything, but you're on guard. You get just like a security man having a gun. He will not always use that gun, but he has to have a gun. Exactly. That's what it's like, basically. Because sometimes you may even see that, you can monitor that users are coming in, users are going down. When users are also going down as well, you have to also optimize to adjust to so there's what they call auto scaling. You set up auto scaling, you optimize the auto scaling configuration so that when the users go down, the amount of resources used also go down. You won't want to build a 4-lane, for example, now going back to the concept of civil engineer, you won't want to build a 4-lane road in a village. You get so most times, if you go to a village community, you see that the roads are very narrow. Then if development comes to that community, it's not left for the people to then start expanding the road. That is what I'm just trying to paint a picture in your head. That's what basically a DevOps. So in a day, you may most likely not be doing anything, but you are doing something. You will most likely not be writing code or doing anything, but you're monitoring. Systems are in place, checking if so errors are coming from anywhere, what you should adjust, what you should not adjust. That's basically what you have been doing. That's your day to day as a DevOps engineer. Okay. Do you know that right now as I'm talking to you on this call, my other computer, my cloud watch, I'm watching cloud watch basically. My other computer. If I receive a message now from the engineers, I will switch and probably answer the message or something. Because I practically work, you're like, most times you work shifts. You get, most times you work shifts, and those shifts, you may not even write code, or you may not even do anything. You can just ensure that everything is working. You get, because if something happens, you have to be there to jump on it immediately to resolve it. I had a situation recently where someone said that, oh, the cloud front, this thing on AWS is a distribution for, don't worry, when we get to them, we'll discuss all those ones. He went down. It's not like smartwatch. It's like a system where you get to watch all your servers and how they are running. That's what they call CloudWatch. You set up a system that you get to monitor all your servers. So if they are having issues, probably there's a high traffic, it will give you an alert, probably like an email that, oh, there's a high traffic, or either you scale it up, add more servers, or you reduce the servers if they are low traffic. So that's what CloudWatch basically does. When we go into AWS, we'll discuss a lot of all those setups. So CloudWatch is basically like monitoring. It's like I'm observing my entire system, basically. You're just watching. So if there's an anomaly, you jump on the anomaly and fix it. Once you fix it, you're out, basically, and still continue watching. That's what you do, basically. So if you most people feel the job is boring, but it is very, very rewarding because you get to fix stuff. You are not always writing code. You get I had a situation recently where some people complained that, oh, the cloud front was down and everything. So I had to, what I called, I had to build like a system where anytime the cloud front is down, I get alerts and inform the engineers, or I put the engineers on the alert and they get, because they were like, oh, it was the customer that complained that the system was down, because I was not the one that did it. I'm just here to maintain it. You get that kind of thing. So that's basically what you do as a DevOps engineer. There was a time in 2020. I don't want to call the name of the app because most of you will know it. A friend of mine was looking at DevOps engineer 2020. He was the one that brought me to this field. So there was a particular fintech application that was raining in 2020 during lockdown, just shortly after lockdown. So this fintech application now, they were pumping money into ads, pumping money into shout outs and the rest. But pay now for solid infrastructure to accommodate the marketing efforts that you are doing. These people will not want to pay. They want to do cut and join systems, cut and join systems. Until one day, Davido gave them a shout out on Instagram. You know, random shout out, hey, I'm here with my crew at you use my code to download the app, blah 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 blah. I'm sure most of you, if you were around that time, you will know the particular platform. And do you know that in 24 hours their system went down? In 24 hours, their system went down. And my guy that was an engineer in the system, he did not even say anything. He just kept quiet. He be calling. So it's like, I told you, let us spend money to get this thing done. And to us that were around him while he was working, when he was explaining to us, we just laughed and was like, you know, that whole scenario, we just laughed and was like, see what this guy did do. It was just so crazy. It was a very, very, very crazy setup. The system went down, like, because we were signing up, who were coming in, who were accessing the site to find out what is this individual talked about. And the system went down because they did not plan for that kind of setup. I'm I'm just that's exactly what I'm talking about. If you're trying to improve an infra, if you're trying to do marketing or trying to bring um you know, trying to your infrastructure should be enough and your expertise should also be enough to accommodate that system, basically. So I'm just glad that at least we have gone far. This is like like I said, like our halftime class. That's why I'm wondering why nobody's asking questions, even if it's not questions regarding the what we are left to far, like career related questions, you know, career related questions. What do you want to know about what DevOps engineer does? Because this is just the beginning level, like I said. We're not doing anything too deep. But when you start doing deep stuff, what do you want to inquire about, basically? You get, because it's a very, very hands-on job. Very hands-on. So yeah. Any feedback?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, oh.
Good evening, everyone. So
Good
sorry
evening.
for taking you back.
Okay.
So your boy have been hospitalized for some time now, so I've not really
Sorry,
been.
sorry. Who is speaking? I can't see who is speaking on my screen.
Sir, it's Alfonso, sir.
Okay, Alphonsus. Okay. Good evening.
Yes, sir. So I
Okay.
said I've not been really following up because I've been down, sir.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry about that.
my question is, thank you, sir. My question is, sir, is it advisable to still run Vagrant on a system where I'm using Ubuntu already?
No,
Or okay,
it's
all
not
right.
advisable. I won't say it's not advisable, but there's no need. So Vagrant is basically just to create like an isolation, an abstraction for probably testing. You get. But that's what, so that you can use Vagrant normally on a Ubuntu system if you want. But if you have an Ubuntu system, the reason why me I use Vagrant on my Ubuntu system because I don't want to deploy stuff that will probably tamper with the settings on my laptop. You get. That's why I use Vagrant so that if anything is up and I make a mistake I can just easily tear down the Vagrant. So that was the whole concept that I had in mind by telling people to use Vagrant. So I don't want a situation where you're playing around with Linux and you probably want to try a command. And when you try a command now, you see that all your files have disappeared. You see that it is me that told you to learn Linux. You get. So that's what I was trying to set up for you. That was what I was trying to advise, basically. But it was for people that were able to manage without Vagrant and still get their stuff done. Kudos to them. So that was just the whole key point behind Vagrant. And Vagrant
Okay.
is cheap. Vagrant, you don't need to pay for it, unlike public servers that you pay per hour. You get.
Okay, sir.
Mm.
All right, sir. Because I tried downloading your previous classes, like that of Ansible now. I don't know my way around it. So I
For
was thinking, sir.
continue.
So I was thinking I need to install the Vagrant
You can
or some.
use yeah, the reason why I use Vagrant is because of, like I said, the same thing I set up. Or you can use a
Okay.
public server. You can go there, site like DigitalOcean that you
Yes.
can get a server from. Then you can install um Mr. Obina said that you cannot hear your phones. Can you repeat that stuff you said?
Okay. I said like that of Ansible that I don't
Mm.
really know my way around it, but I found out that I cannot do anything with Ubuntu there. So
So
someone was actually advising me that I should try to set up a AWS account.
yes, you can. You can, but you may be confused with AWS because AWS has a lot of moving parts, especially as a
Okay.
beginner. So I would
Okay.
advise you to set up what they call DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean gives you can get a server that you can play around with, but be very careful. After you're done with
Okay.
your test, delete the server because it runs on an hourly basis. So once you've set up everything and you've done your screenshots, you can delete it. You
Okay.
get,
All
yeah.
right, sir.
So
Thank you,
DigitalOcean
sir.
is the best to start with because it gives you a server. AWS has a lot of moving parts. We'll go to AWS definitely, but I want you to
Okay.
now start playing around AWS now as a beginner because you may
All
just
right, sir.
forget now and then probably get entangled. So
Okay, sir.
try DigitalOcean. You can install Ansible on your Ubuntu laptop. You get
Yes,
install
I've
Ansible.
done that already, sir.
So your laptop will be your host. Your laptop will be
Yes.
your Ansible host. You get then you
Yes.
connect your DigitalOcean server to that Ansible host so that it's from your laptop now that you'll be configuring that DigitalOcean server.
Okay.
You understand? That's the best approach. You don't necessarily have to use two servers like I did. I just use two servers to just further buttress my point
Explain the
of
class. Okay.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
exactly. You can just use one.
All right,
Use
sir.
one
Thank you,
and
sir.
then get it. I knew this problem would occur. That's why I didn't give Ansible as a tax. You understand? I
Okay.
knew this setup. I knew people would have issues with all this whole configuration. That's why I intentionally not give Ansible as a tax. You
Thank you, sir.
understand? Uh,
Thank
so
you, sir.
yeah. Mm. So is there any more question?
Yeah, hello.
Hello, boss. Good evening. Oh.
Good evening, boss.
Yeah.
Well done. The
Thank you.
the people you're talking about that uses Ubuntu is us. As let me say me, uh,
Okay.
because if you finish teaching, it's a whole new learning adventure for me. I
Yeah.
go back. Basically, everything you thought is a whole different thing. Working on it with this Ubuntu stuff. So I now go back and start relearning everything you taught. So basically, anything you guys can do, it takes me a whole lot of time to do. I can still do it, but it takes me longer time, to do
Okay.
it because I now keep on, try this, it doesn't work. I try that, it doesn't work. Even up till now, I have not finished that Vanguard setup because I could not do it on the Ubuntu. I had to leave it and jump onto all those
Okay.
containerization and all those parts.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But
just like okay, continue.
everything you do, I can be able to do. It's just that it's now trying to figure out what's it called? Indentation errors. There are so many things, figuring out. So it's a deep, and I can't come and be asking, half of the class here, most of them don't know what I will be talking about because it's a different VM I'm using from every other
Okay.
person. So it's a
Okay.
bit hard
So
and challenging
can
for
you
me.
give me a scenario, an exact scenario, so that I can pinpoint the solution? I'm sure you'll be referring to. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, you
I'm sure
said,
you'll be. Actually, can you give me like a pinpoint scenario so that I can like pinpoint the solution?
uh, as you well know, I'm very new. So half of the things you say, I just do like I don't want to slow the class down. I go back
Uh,
and research about it, or I finally figure it out. So the assignment, I don't want you to talk about it because it's still assignment. I'm still having a lot of issue, even though to some extent I have, sorted 50 or 60% of it out.
okay.
But yeah. So, and also, as I said, the vagrant setup, I've not even done anything about
So,
that.
so
I don't want to go and be using the ocean you said,
okay,
because I don't want to be paying for it. It's not that I don't want to pay,
okay.
but I want to know
Um,
how it
so
works
first,
on
first thing,
Ubuntu system.
first
Yeah.
things first. First things first. Based on the call we had some time ago, I realized that you already have Ubuntu set up on your laptop with VirtualBox.
Yes.
Abi?
Yes.
Good. So that's a good start first. That's a good start. Then you can, okay, now let us do something, yeah? If you find it difficult to get, probably you're quite difficult to create multiple vagrant servers, in that Ubuntu for your assignment to just learn, you can try learning how to install setups, configurations on your server, so you know that part where you see targets, like you set the IP address that you want to reach, that you want to connect to, you can put your local host there so it will install to itself. You know, this kind of thing, since you may not want to, or probably you are finding it difficult to install, because what we are trying to just teach is just the concept, basically. Since based on the class, you know how to connect. But if you want to like bypass that whole issue of, oh, Vagrant is not set up and the rest, you can just try, using Ansible to install on the local server, since you're using Ubuntu separately. Then that vagrant of a stuff, that vagrant, I wanted to say that you did not turn on virtualization on your BIOS, but since you are using that Ubuntu server, I don't know. It's still a bit sketchy, based on our last meeting, it's still a bit sketchy, but we have to just find an alternative around it. And another thing is also, do not be afraid to open up. I'm always here to like solve issues. I'm sure that this new tax now that you're probably talking about Docker, it's just better to install the Docker on your Ubuntu server. Install the Docker on your Ubuntu server. Then, once you install it on your Ubuntu server, you can easily do all those commands, to check the container and everything for the assignment that is currently going on. You understand?
Yeah. I'm lucky enough today. I didn't go to work. So since morning, I've not gotten up from this chair. That is what I've been
Okay.
doing since morning. So I've succeeded in, so many. If you pass this hurdle, another hurdle will come up. If you pass this
Yeah.
hurdle, another hurdle will come up.
Uh,
It's just a ripple of like chain reaction. When you're on hook one, one is in front of you waiting for you. But luckily enough, I've been, maneuvering it.
yeah.
Yeah, so
If you check the video I sent previously, I did the front end part. So it's just for you to do the back end and the database and then just connect it. If you have issues, you can reach out to, I know there's a few guys on this call that have already done the assignments. You can reach out to uh IUS, I think this guy they call IUS. And this Isaac Abaje, I think he has done his own assignment as well. And so yeah, you can just reach out to him. And then Fatima too was also done her own. So you reach out to them, tell you how you interconnect them. It's quite It's quite straightforward. So yeah, you have any issues?
All right,
But no problem, no problem. I understand everything you're talking about. I use Vagrant because of I want to create that encapsulation, but since you're using your own Ubuntu system, it may be, a bit, some commands that I use in Vagrant may be different, so, but it's still the same Ubuntu environment. Vagrant is also running Ubuntu plus your Ubuntu environment. Just that my own is more miniature, basically. Unlike you that are using your full operating system. So yeah, I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Mhm. So no problem. Does anybody have any feedback, any complaint, anything to talk about?
Sir, please. There's something you said, sir.
So hold on, before you talk, someone asked a question on the chat. Someone said, on a professional level, is it required for DevOps? Yeah, so no, not. I won't say it's required, but it's not. I won't say cyber security. I won't use the word cyber security, but it's good to have good knowledge of security in general. Cyber security is a whole field on its own. Just the way you have cloud and DevOps, cyber security is a whole field. Like it's like moving from Port Harcourt to Lagos. It's a whole setup on its own. You get, but basically, you have to have fundamental skills in security. Security should be the first thing when you are setting up no matter how small no matter how small an infrastructure is, security should be the number one thing. So DevSecOps roles are coming up because companies are prioritizing security because of how wide and how exposed resources are on the internet, especially with the advent of AI and everything. Everybody wants to secure their information, their systems, and everything because everything is practically open. It's not like before where, okay, before you can access a particular information, you must go to a library or you must go to an archive or that kind of thing. Now everything is open. So most people, in as much as it's open, they still want to protect, the underlying setups you get. So DevOps, you cannot be deploying code that is not secure. Probably for situations where you deploy code and that code has a string to access a server inside. You understand? It's not safe, basically. So as a DevOps engineer, security must be the first thing that you think of when you are deploying anything. I once passed an interview because of that stuff. So someone asked me to deploy a PHP application. So I wrote the PHP application, I wrote the env file. Now in the process of deploying it, ideally, most people, what they will want to do is they will deploy the env file that contains all the security setups. They will go and deploy it straight to the server. That's not what I did. What I did was that I blocked the env file from going into the GitHub. And I went to what they call GitHub secrets and then wrote all the env, all the variables inside. So when I now deployed the application, and now when I deployed the application to the server, the code I wrote basically went to the server and then pulled out the env information from where I stored it into the server. So instead of it to pass through the pipeline, it just pulled it out from where I stored it and then installed it on the server. So when I explained the setup, it was a very, very basic setup, but for the fact that I considered that secure approach in mind, the man was like, okay, but the fact that I considered this secure way, yeah, even though I didn't get the job after, but most people would just, as they put everything, bam, they just zip the whole setup straight to the server. No, you have to. That's why when I'm teaching CI/CD next, I'll show you. I'll go through GitHub Actions because GitHub Actions that we're going to talk about. I'll go through GitHub Actions. This assignment that we did, this Dream Vacation app will take us to the next 2 to 3 tasks. So that's why I'm encouraging you to do it because we are going to still use the same Dream Vacation app again, the beginning, the one before containerization. We're going to use it again for CI/CD. So for those that are not doing this assignment, please try and do it. We're going to use it for the next, let's say the next 2 tasks. We're going to use the same setup. I'm going to teach you how you're going to do it. Usually for this CI/CD, you will use Gin because you will use the Gin regression house to build the CI/CD pipeline. So yeah, basically, that's just it. So someone wanted to ask a question. Please ask. So sorry, Okpeyemi, yeah, have I answered your question? Security, cyber security is not, you must not learn cyber security as a whole, but have that fundamentals of security in place, basically. Because you will secure pipelines, you will secure a CI/CD pipeline, you have to secure your cloud infrastructure. You have to do what they call in security, there's what they call authorization and authentication. You have to implement authorization and authentication techniques on your environment, meaning that authorization and authentication, meaning that you have to assign a certain amount of people that can access certain amount of resources. Because it's not everybody in your company that can come and access your server. No, your work as a DevOps engineer, as a cloud engineer, is to ensure that there's only amount of people that are assigned to a particular server that can access the server. That's what authentication and authorization is. That's also part of security. You understand? So everything, that's what it is basically. That's what it entails. So yeah, okay, I mean, should I have answered your question, Abby? Okay, no wahala. Sorry, someone wanted to ask something.
There is this head up you gave to Okoye when you were explaining his questions. The question he asked.
Okay. I can't hear you. Your background is noisy.
No, sir, that's someone else's mic that was on.
Okay, continue.
So there's something you told him that he can set up on his Ubuntu with regards to containerization, but I didn't hear it because of my network was.
So,
I think.
you know the project. Our project is talking about Docker.
Yes,
So
sir.
for you to use the Docker, you have to install Docker for you to use it.
Okay, on Ubuntu, sir.
You can install it on Windows, you can install it on Ubuntu, but it's always best to install on Ubuntu because Windows can be a bit complex to manage Docker. It's even in recent times said that it's trying to be stable, but it's always just best to use. See, what you would do, install Docker on your Windows or Ubuntu. But if you have Ubuntu, not Vagrant, if you have your Ubuntu server, if your laptop is running Ubuntu, you can install Docker on your Ubuntu. Then when you are testing your application, you use localhost. You use your local host to test the application if it is running. You use localhost. So you put once your front end has been containerized, it maps to your local host on your laptop. Then you use localhost to access the front end. I think this guy has done it. This I use Diabonya. Sorry if I'm murdering your name. He did exactly what I'm talking about. So if we are having issues, you can reach out to him on Discord. I know I know a lot of people in this class, and I know he was the first person to submit, and he did exactly what I asked him to do, and it worked. So ask him what he did in his setup, and he will explain it for you.
Okay, all right. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Ayus, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening.
Yeah,
My
good evening.
background is
It's fine. I know that you were the first person to do the assignment, and you did a wonderful job. That's why I'm trying to send references to you.
okay. No problem.
So
But
yeah,
when the time comes when you go sit and remember people for better things, please remember me too.
I beg you. I've heard you.
All right,
Okay,
it's okay. It's
so
fine.
yeah. So does anyone have any question? I'm going through the chat now to see. Does anyone have any question, any feedback? It may not be a question, it may be like a feedback, observation, or something that you want to. Please, most of you that are reaching out to
Hi, good evening,
Mr.
sir.
Ayus. Good evening. Hold on, please. Most of you that are reaching out to Mr. Ayus, do not go and shoplift his assignment. Do not shoplift his assignment. Because if you go now and then he probably shows you now, you can't shoplift. Please do not shoplift anybody's assignment. Send your own screenshots individually. Okay. Continue. Sorry, who was talking the last time?
Oh, it's Fatima.
Okay, Fatima, good
Good
evening. I know you have submitted your assignment as well. Good evening.
Okay, so regarding Docker, the
Okay.
assignment that we did, they only had one repo. There are some companies or apps, sorry, that may have two repos. One
Front end
will
and
be the
back end,
back
Abby.
end. Yes. So when containerizing using the Docker, are we to create the Docker file for each of the repos, or we can just use one for both of the repos?
You have to create a Docker file for each of the repos. For each of the repos, you create a Docker file for each of the repos. But in a situation where you now want to use Docker Compose, that's where you now use, so you will not use context and then put the folder name. This one now, you have to deploy the image to Docker Hub. You get, and call it out on your Docker Compose. So for example, I have repo A for front end, I have repo B for back end. I will put the Docker file in repo A for front end, put the Docker file for repo A in back end. Then I will now create a particular, I'll just choose any of the files. Then when I do the Docker files in front end and back end, I will have to push the image. You get, this is where CI/CD comes in, because you also have to write a CI/CD pipeline to push each individual image and then update. So when you push the image version, you update the Docker Compose. It's automatic. You write the code to push the image and update the version on Docker Compose. So once you're running Docker Compose up, it will spin it with the current image. So since they are on different repos, you're not doing context like the one we did now. You did context and you did ./backend or ./frontend to reference the folder where it's stored. But this one, you're not doing context. You have to push it and then pull it from the Docker Hub when you're not doing Docker Compose. Do you understand?
Okay. Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do.
That's...
So okay.
Yeah,
Also,
continue.
there are
I'm hearing you.
models. When companies or apps that use models with a different repo, are we to use this same process for full stack apps to create Docker files for them and Docker Compose?
What do you mean by models?
Let's say if let's say like ChatGPT that is using maybe NLP, it might have a repo for NLP that is different from the other repos. So that particular repo for the NLP, are we to use the same process of Docker Compose and Docker files?
Are you trying to explain? Okay, so if an application has multiple components that make up the application.
Yes.
Now you Dockerize all the components differently. Then that's what they call microservices. That's what I explained to as microservices in the first class. So that's what containerization aids microservice architecture, because with containerization, you can easily deploy different components of an application. You can package them separately and then connect them. That's what that Docker Compose does. So that thing that we did in Docker Compose, where we did front end, back end, and database, is microservices. We're combining different services together into one application. So if you're building those kind of systems where they are, don't worry, I'll show you. I don't know if we'll have chance next. I will show you a particular project where we did like 10 different services to one application. It was an e-commerce project. There was like 10 different services to just one application. The carting service was different. The checkout service was different. the user interface, the service was different. Everything, the whole application was split into microservices up to 10, and we use Docker Compose to package all of them together and then ship it. So microservice architecture is great when if one service fails, the application will still be running. It's only that particular part. For example, now you can see that you can enter one site now, you'll see that, okay, checkout is not working, but the application is running. Because why? Checkout is a service on its own, but it's not working. So the engineers will now focus on ensuring that checkout works. You get, unlike a situation where everything is combined together into one setup. So once one particular thing goes down, it packs up. So the whole application is down. You can enter a place, you can be like, oh, you can enter a site, you can be like, oh, a particular button is not working. The engineer will just focus on that particular service that powers that button. And then when the thing fixed, it comes on, rather than the application will still be live. That's what microservice architecture. So Docker on its own, and Docker supports microservice application. So if you're trying to build that kind of setup, Dockerize all the individual components. You understand?
Oh, yeah, yes. Thank you very much. Yes, I do understand. Thank you.
Yeah. I like the questions people have said, man. It's very, very good. So someone asked concerning, I have no idea about dipods, so I have no idea. But you can reach out to KodeCamp admin, the KodeCamp manager. You can tag them on the group and ask. I have no idea, or my department is not dipod, so I'm only doing my own ministry. So yeah. Any more question?
Good evening, sir.
I'm here to answer your questions. Yeah. I told you this is half time.
Yeah.
This is our half time now. So give me all your questions, because that's why I'm moving to second half. I'm not going to answer any question regarding this first half again. So that's why. So give it to ask me. Elijah, you're asking me something.
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Okay.
I've heard the people talking about running Docker on Ubuntu and Vagrant. So I wanted to confirm. Are you hearing me, sir?
We're not running Docker on Vagrant too. You're running either you run it either on your Ubuntu machine, like if your laptop is running Ubuntu, or if your laptop is running Windows, you install it on either of them. You are not creating Vagrant. The only way you create Vagrant and you run Ubuntu is if you want to do testing. But Ubuntu requires the use of a public IP. You understand, for your application to be able to access the internet. If you want to configure public IP address now on Vagrant server, it will take you a while, which does not make sense. So that's why I advise you install it on your local computer, on your computer. Install Docker on your computer. Or if you have Ubuntu on your computer, also install Docker. Or you go and get a server and install Docker. You understand?
Yeah, I have Docker
on your computer.
I have Docker. Yes, I have Docker.
So you can do that. You can get your stuff done.
Okay, sir. I'm on it. It's just it's back end and database is remaining.
Sure. Back end and database is remaining. Okay. As if I did not do front end in class. This man.
Nah, I have to watch a lot of videos yesterday. Yesterday I was on videos trying to get to understand what I'm doing.
Okay. I'm glad you do. No, any more questions? If you have tax specific questions, you can let me know. Probably you don't understand something from either the last, not this current tax, so like either the last tax, or you don't understand something from the last class that you've not said anything. I won't go back to start explaining, but I can just give you, surface level answers.
Okay, so I have another question.
Okay.
Okay, so once I am done integrating the what is it called, back end and the database. Yes.
Yeah.
am I still going to use the same address that I used for the front end so that for it to show everything?
What do you mean by address?
Okay, the local host that I used to check the front end running on a browser. So is
Yes,
it the
now
same
you use
local host?
you're not
Okay, okay,
checking back end and database on your browser, okay? It's front end that you're checking on your browser. Back end, what you're checking on your browser is if the front end is connected to back end. So now, once you have checked the front end and it works, you now do the back end. Mr. Obin, I think your network is disturbing, because he has finished his talk. I mean, I'm talking my own, but probably thing is lagging or something. But anyways, once you do the front end and back end, now what you're going to now test is the back end. You have to write something on the front end that will bring out. So the whole concept of the tax is once you write a country, it gives you details on the country. You get. So that details of the country, that is what the back end is doing. So if you write a country and you click search and the details of the country does not show under, means that your backend is not connected. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Your backend has to know.
Yes,
You
yes,
have to
yes.
test. Good. You have to test it. Now, the database own is that you have to ensure that when you put a database, once you forward that database and start it up again, the country still shows because it is storing the data. The backend is storing the data on the database that you're seeing on your screen on your front end. Do you understand me?
Yes, sir, I understand.
So when you do the database, the environment, the password and the username that you did in the database should be what you use on the back end. You understand? Same thing to do
Okay,
the environments that you use on the back end should be what you consume on the front end. So everything will be connected. Do you understand?
yes, sir.
All right. No wahala. And like I said, reach out to if you have issues, reach out to Mr. Ayus to just clear you on some things because he has done the assignment. It's perfect. So when you're in university and secondary school, once one person get 100/100, it's that person's script they use to mark other people's script. So that's what we're doing now. So yeah. Any more questions? So let me show you one more thing before I go. Let me show you one thing before I go. Now, when I'm talking about environmental variables, this is what I'm talking about. So when you, like I said, do not deploy an environmental variable. Do never deploy an environmental variable. So this is how your environmental variable looks like. You have a .env here. Now this is how a typical environmental variable looks like. You have all your setup, your DB port, your kini, database, blah, blah. This should not go into your GitHub repo or any deployment that you're doing. Instead, you do .env.example. Make it as an example file with everything empty like this. So if someone wants to clone your repo, if they clone your repo, they will now see that everything, and so it is them that will now add their own information. They want to use your app or they want to modify, they will now add their own information here rather than using your own that is set up here. Now, if you want to set git ignore, I mentioned this in the git class, you do git ignore. Now, this git ignore now, you can set anything you can put .env file to. So when it's pushing it, first of all, check this git ignore. When it's pushing it to your repo, it will ignore this env file. You can also set node modules. Most of you deployed applications with node modules, which is very, 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 very not good. Node modules. Always ignore node modules when you're deploying. If you're writing Terraform, there's a Terraform package management file. You also ignore it as well. Ignore all those things. I don't know why Copilot just giving me useless suggestions. But anyways, yeah, that's just what it is. This is how you ignore files I don't want to push. Ignore them. For env files, you set up .env.example that will give you everything, but they will be all empty. So the person that is cloning your repo will not add their own information that they want. But this should not go into a repo. Just have it at the back of your mind. So that being said, I feel like I've talked enough for today. I've given everybody a chance to ask me a question. This is the formally, first half is over. We're going back to the field again. Now we've done our 15 minutes break in the locker room. Yeah. So second half now. We're going second half on Tuesday where we talk about containerization, CI/CD, and pipeline building. No, we're not doing weather workshop, but this is like software pipeline building. So yeah, that being said, thank you very much for today's session. Thank God it's Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Do have a lovely weekend. Thank you very much.
All right. Good night, sir.
Good night.